And here we are. We're back again. More Got Hockey. And today I've got Brad Johnson joining me from Brian's. It's an iconic brand. And today we're going to talk a little bit about an iconic line of gear. How are you, Brad?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me, Dana. How are you doing today?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to have you. And we probably should have done this earlier. I know I did one with Jaws before, so it's good to add another member of the Brian's family to the lexicon, so to speak.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy to be with Brian's. I've been with Brian since 2014, managing all of the U.S. retail sales, and I kind of took over Jaws's responsibilities last
Mhm.
fall and took on the college, junior, and pro responsibilities as well.
Yeah, it's a big task. I bet you're I bet you get a lot of miles and a lot of emails, text, phone calls.
It's all goalie all the time. So I can't tell you that I don't love my job because I absolutely do. But it is a decent amount of travel. But the cool thing is it's seasonal. So my travel seasonal where I have blocks where I'm on the road pretty consistently, and then I have blocks where I can kick back and catch up on things and take some time off too, which is great. And it gives you the ability to refuel and keep fired up all the time.
Yeah, it's great. I think what I would call you is like a lot of the other maybe of my guess is you're a hockey lifer. You're well entrenched in the game, and it's a big part of your life. I know you do a lot of coaching. How did you start out in hockey to begin with?
Well, so I was, I started playing goal. I started playing hockey when I was about 8.
Hmm.
Um, and I started playing goal about 12, 13 years old. So maybe a little bit late starter, by modern standards. Although, we have goalies starting and all throughout. And we talk about Tom Askey here at USA Hockey sometimes because Tom's helps out with our USA Hockey initiatives, here in Michigan. And I don't believe he started playing goal until he was 14 or
Wow,
15, and he ended up opportunity to play in the
for
NHL.
sure.
So,
Malcolm Subban didn't play goal until he was, I think, 12.
yep, exactly. But of course that wasn't my path and my towering 5'5" stature. I was a decent goalie, played up through high school. And then actually when I was a freshman at Western Michigan, I did go through the walk-on process. But realized, I was young, but I realized it wasn't happening. That
Yeah.
was it for me as far as playing competitively, and I got into coaching immediately. So I started hooking up with Koha, the youth hockey organization there in Kalamazoo, and started with some private lessons, and then did that all throughout my entire career in college. And then I lived in Kalamazoo for 12 years. I coached the women's college team at Western Michigan for 7 years. And then when I moved back to the Detroit area, I kind of stuck with it, and I've continued coaching at the women's game primarily, but I've coached tier 1, tier 2 girls high school hockey, and I continue to coach today a women's senior competitive team where they're all ex-college players. We compete at the highest non-professional level that USA Hockey
Sure.
offers.
And you're also a coach who coaches coaches.
I am a coach who coaches coaches. So I'm the associate coach and chief of goaltending for USA Hockey in Michigan. So that means I'm in charge of providing educational opportunities and furthering the education of our coaches, both goalie coaches and non-specific goalie coaches, how to be better coaches to their goaltenders. And then in addition to that, I also put on our regular levels 1 through 4 for all of our USA Hockey coaches to get their coaching certification. Most of our clinics are on Zoom now, so our clinics have coaches from all over the country on every clinic. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's good access at least, so you can reach a lot of people. If it doesn't have to be specifically centralized, I guess that's always good too. It gives the people who aren't necessarily right in your backyard a chance to get the training, to get their certifications and all those things.
One of the cool things that was an addition, kind of an add-on that we hadn't intended when I started working as the associate coach and chief of goaltending. I got involved on the curriculum side, and because of my background, we decided that for a bronze level course, one of the modules we were going to provide is actually a session on how to check your kids for proper fitting gear, because the purpose of the bronze level clinic isn't, it's for all coaches, not just goalie specific coaches, to just learn how to do better drill design, make sure their drills are keeping their goalies in mind. We don't have puck dummies in net anymore at USA Hockey in practice, goals like that. And but we were able to kind of take my experience, because working for Brian's, I do goalie schools all over the country and whatever. And one of the biggest things I do is parents always want me to check the size of the gear on the kids
Hmm.
at camps. And you see kids out on the ice, and we see it all the time, that are struggling in gear that's too big because parents want to get 2 years out of gear, et cetera, et cetera. So we put together a really cool slideshow with visual aids where we just show all the coaches, look, it's not rocket science. You don't have to be an expert. Here's the ABCs of just to be able to check your kids' length of paddle on their goal sticks, sizing of their pads, check their glove and blocker, and make sure that they're able to close their glove, because 90% of the time that somebody nowadays says they can't close their glove, it's because it's too big. It's not because it's too
Right.
stiff. It's
Yeah.
because the break of their hand isn't staying over the break of the glove. And so we put a really nice presentation together for coaches. So now coaches can do that, not just goalie specific coaches, but all coaches can kind of at least check their kids and make sure that they're
Sure.
not setting themselves up for injury.
So that'll bring us back now to Brian's and your role there, your many roles there, it seems, and some brand new gear. So why don't we dive right in and talk a little bit about Iconic?
Happy to. Let's change over. You see some one of the benefits of USA Hockey is I get these fancy tools for presentations, so I can pretend that I'm very professional, or at least be able to pull it off a little bit. But
Yeah,
obviously we know that the Iconic is our hybrid butterfly line, so it is what is taking over for the genetic. We went through 5 different versions of the genetic. The genetic was very successful, a great hybrid butterfly product. But what we wanted to do is build off of what success we had with the genetic, but also address some things as hybrid goalies have evolved. I always say hybrid goalies want the best of all worlds. They want the same seal and slide and performance of a very rigid butterfly pad when they're down in the butterfly, but they also move more in the upright position. They want to be able to flex more into the core of the pad, where butterfly pads are a little bit more rigid and less forgiving when you're trying to move in the upright position. And so that was definitely solid in our mind with our design process with the Iconic. We wanted it to be lighter and faster and more responsive, while still providing all of the performance that we were successfully able to provide with the genetic. We wanted to take out some of the bulkiness of the genetic pad and thin it out and streamline it. We were able to thin it out so much that the B star on the outer gusset has to be a smaller B star now, because we couldn't fit the
we
larger
even
B.
scaled back the logos. That's the
Yes.
level of commitment.
Yeah, which matters, right? Like, it's harder to
Sure.
see it on our NHL goalies on TV now. But by thinning out it, we made it significantly lighter. It's 20% lighter than the
Yeah.
genetic.
Yeah, I know
Uh,
picking it up right away, the early ones that we've got in, the one thing I did notice right away, to even just taking them out of the box, was, oh, there's a nice weight story that's going to go along with these. Like, there's a nice difference you really feel.
it's almost a full pound. It's almost a pound lighter.
Yeah.
That's why it's significant when you pick it up. And when I was talking to Rio about it, as well the other day, and he mentioned, he was like, you really notice it because we still have genetic customs going through the line right now. And when you've got like a genetic coming through and an Iconic coming right after it, he's like, it's crazy because you can just
Yeah.
definitely feel and notice that difference with the weight. So we were definitely successful with that goal, where that was one of our goals of what we wanted to do. We further wanted to use the Brycore. So the Brycore is the piece of fiberglass material that we put in the thigh rise. We introduced that in previous models. So we've carried that on in the Iconic, and what that's designed to do is to provide more rigidity at the top of the pad. So again, going back to my original conversation about hybrid butterfly style goalies,
Hmm.
they still want that seal when they're down in the butterfly, and they still don't want the pad to give when they take a clapper right at the top of the thigh rise.
Yeah.
Um,
And especially over time too.
absolutely, and the Brycore provides that kind of reinforcement or spine, if you will, So because foam will soften over time and become more flexible, and the Brycore is going to help with the longevity with that as well. So we've further integrated that. So it's still in the pad, and it's in both versions. We have the regular and then the stiff. The stiff is our pro version, so that's our rigid, stiffer core. Still has an internal break in the middle of the pad to flex into, but it's the overall pad is stiffer. And then we have a regular stiffness, which is more for little bit more of the recreational butterfly goalies. Also, guys like me that are still mixing their styles amongst decades of playing. We're more comfortable in a softer pad, and the soft is or the regular stiffness is really that for me. I'm more comfortable in that regular stiff. So that's still there and fully customizable. We have the Opti Slide is still our primo material, which has a lower friction coefficient on the ice. You get a really good slide, but we've densened up the sliding edge as well. We use very dense material on that sliding edge. So you get the rigidity and the lower friction coefficient with the material, which equals pretty unrivaled slide when you're comparing it apples to apples to other lines that are out there.
Yeah. And that added density in the sliding surface, it just absorbs less. So more of your energy gets into the push. You're not sinking down when you hit the ice.
Yeah,
I honestly I can't wait to try these. I only just got a pair earlier this year of Optic threes, which I'm really enjoying. And I love the super deep shape and everything that they have, and they move so well. And then I took these out of the box the first time, and I'm setting them up in the store, and right away I just was like, something different about these, something's, so I'll talk to my rep, my side of the border, and
yep, we'll
see
get
what's
something out.
available.
We'll get something out to you
With
for sure.
that,
With the primo material,
Mhm.
as I mentioned, I do a lot of goalie schools, and then I also do a lot of demo events, both retail and at goalie schools. And one thing you can say with that material, like everybody's got their own thing. Everybody makes good stuff, and there are traditional goalies and other brands that just aren't comfortable in our style. Just like there's people that aren't comfortable in other styles that are traditional Brian's goalies. But anybody who tries Brian's and hasn't tried them before versus whatever they're wearing, and they go out and they slide around in these pads, you get that wide eye response. The last thing with the knee blocks and the adjustable strapping, the smart strapping is very similar to what we had on the genetic. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We got great rotation and adjustment on this pad. We really were very successful when we evolved to that smart strap on the calf strap. We have the beefed up padding on the landing side of the pad to help keep that flush, provide you a little cushion when you land, but not restrict the rotation at all in that leg channel. You have the knee strap, which can go straight across or down. It is cut through the inside of the knee block, but you can also you can unvelcro it and go through the side of the knee block if you'd like. We beefed up that knee block. If you can see in this picture, it's a solid, thick, sturdy knee block. And going back to what you were saying about seal and absorption with the firmness of the material and the sliding edge, the same thing's important with our bound in knee block, in that it stays flush, it stays 90 degrees on the ice. It's very solid and sturdy, provides a great landing area for you when you drop down in the butterfly, and a really good seal on the ice.
Mhm.
Um,
And just overall, like even just looking at the back, that's a very simple pad to do up.
mhm.
And maybe even too worth mentioning, no longer stock with a bootstrap.
Yep,
That'll be
that was
custom only.
Yep, my last additions on there that have changed are the non-stock options of the Velcro tab for the knee guards and the non-stock option of the bootstrap. I love it. I'm waiting to get one that actually fits me though. Unfortunately, in the pro demos I got, being a little guy, I haven't got anything that fits me quite properly. So I'm waiting for my retail demo stock. But let's move on. We can talk about the glove next.
Absolutely.
So with the catch glove, and anybody that's a traditional Brian's goalie, but pretty much everybody knows that the genetic was wildly our most successful glove line in the history of our company. It's a great catch glove. We've got our game ready fit right off the shelf. So you can take it out of the bag and go skating it. Like anything, you got to sweat in it and break it in. But but it closes fully. It's easy to close if it fits properly. You go right out and use it. We didn't really want, if it ain't broke, don't fix it again. Like we didn't want to reinvent it,
Hmm.
but we did make a couple subtle changes to it. So it does still have the traditional 35-degree break angle.
Hmm.
Uh, but you will notice the slightly more rounded finger side. So
Yeah.
if you remember back, I believe going back to the genetic 3 um, and the genetic 2, we had that rounded finger side. And then when we went into the genetic 4 and the genetic 5, we flattened that out. So it was much flatter in the closure.
Yeah.
And you can see here now on this here in this area, you can see the crease here where it's curving towards the glove. So we
Yeah.
just
So,
added,
a roundness, but also almost I don't want to call it a finger curl because I think that calling it that harkens to some other gloves when they get a little worn out. But it does have a bit of a bit of a bevel or just a bit of a roundness to it, not just the shape of the perimeter of the glove.
exactly, exactly. And so then what that does, I mean, really at the end of the day, it closes the same, but it gives you that little bit more over closure when it's fully closed.
Hmm.
Seals that glove closed really well. And and again, it designed to direct pucks a little bit more into that pocket if you're not tracking it perfectly. Like again, you keep mentioning our age as we get older and goaltenders. I'm certainly guilty of that now. So it's a little more forgiving for me when I'm not tracking it properly or on those deflected pucks that change direction coming in. You get a little bit more of an area there where you can channel that into the glove with the curve in the finger. We still have the traditional Nash palm on this. The Nash palm is not less durable. Sometimes people say that it's less durable than Gen Pro or whatever. It's not, but it does, unless it's black, it does show puck marks
Hmm.
quicker than any of the other materials. But you do have that option of just going with whatever material you want when you're customizing. But stock, it does come with the Nash palm still. So it's a little bit softer palm. I think it helps a little bit with that softer closure as well when you use the Nash material. But there's no science to tell you that it does that or it doesn't do that.
I think
Uh,
Nash is a tiny bit lighter too.
yeah,
I think
it
it's a
is.
tiny bit
Right.
lighter.
Yep. And whether you'd actually notice that difference, probably not, but it is a little bit lighter. Double T standard on the Iconic, just like the genetic line. For those who don't know, with the eyes are a stock option on all our double T's. They do not come on our single T's. So I always remind people, if you want to customize our stock double T glove, which is now the Iconic, with a single T and you want the eyes, you do need to let your retailer know, and that's actually an embroidery charge for that.
I think one of the most amazing things about Brian's and people who wear the gear, there was a time, I think, when there was no more thief
Yep.
and I guess no more focus or whatever gloves were sort of in and out. And I remember it was like there's no more eyes on the tees. And
Yep.
literally the whole year was like, how come they don't have eyes on them anymore? Where's the eyes? Can I get mine with the eyes? And the eyes have been back ever
So
since.
we do have our dial system in our catch and block. We've been known for the BOA system since we integrated into our
Yep.
catch glove. Again, kind of like I was saying with the Primo, it's kind of the same thing where obviously we our glove is very popular with goaltenders. It feels great. It's got great closure, game ready. But you still have some goalies that again are traditional in other brands, but it's kind of the same thing. You may not like our glove as much as whatever traditional you've worn your whole career, but when you adjust it with the dial system and get your hand dialed in there,
Oh yeah.
there is no better fit. So there's no way to get your hand as locked in a glove, in my opinion, as you get with our dial system
Yeah,
inside of our.
especially if you do really like that snug to tight, in that area, like it definitely
Yep.
really locks it in. I think I kind of have one setting. I sort of like just sort of jimmy my hand in because I think I have it where I want it. And
Yeah.
and this so new dial system though, so this is no longer we're not popping off the top and pushing down. It's just a dial right and left, tight and
As
loosen.
of as of today, we are still putting boas in the glove.
Okay.
So we still have boa. but there will be a running change when we run out of our current BOA. And without getting too far into it, we had a great relationship with
Hmm.
BOA. They're a phenomenal company, but they kind of streamlined their business because they're in so many different products, and they've kind of trimmed down um, who they're selling to based off of volume. And we sell a lot
Right.
of gloves, but we don't sell millions of gloves. And
Yeah.
so we just couldn't meet the volume that was required, and it didn't make sense.
Yeah, and
And they
I think they sort of just didn't see a need to be in goalie equipment,
That too. I mean,
right?
that's the thing, right? Like it just had to fit everybody's. And like I said, great company, and the
Yeah.
people we worked with there, were able to recommend a product that was going to perform just as well, and that will be the A top company when we do make that transition. It will change from the pull up release, push down to hold to just a twist back to release.
Hmm.
That's the only change. You'll see the canopy system. Everything else is exactly the same.
Right.
And it'll still come with the lifetime warranty on the dial, just like the BOA did. So it'll be a seamless transition. The only ones that will notice it are goaltenders that are going from a previous model Brian's glove to a new model Brian's glove, and they're
Yeah.
just going to go, oh, it's a little bit different. I do want to mention actually the cool thing about the back piece that we have here is with the segmentation, and so you can see it's nice beefy padding for protection,
Hmm.
but it actually allows you to roll that back a little bit more than we could in the previous version of the genetic. And although it's not, I'm going to take a quick second here because this is where I'm going to throw it on camera because I do want to show you. But for Brian's goalies, you will with the genetic. It was a. It used to be a little bit difficult to get to this back finger adjustment. There's an elastic strap
Right.
that you can pull across the top of your fingers to tighten it up,
Hmm.
and the optic glove isn't laced this far. It's laced to about here, and we have another Velcro strap on the optic, so you could actually open that up and get right
That's
over
right.
that strap. And one of the things with this segmented material is it did open up the genetic even just a little bit more, and now you can
Okay.
see you can get to that backhand finger adjustment a little bit better than what you could in the genetic 5. So
Okay.
moving on to the blocker.
Yep.
Again, similar to with the pads, we wanted to reduce a little bit of the bulkiness. One of the things about our genetic, it was a more traditional blocker, so it was very popular with our traditional goaltenders, but it was heavier than our optic blocker. So you did get some goalies who were in the genetic line would try on the optic and be like, I really like my genetic, but why is the optic lighter? So we wanted to give that same feel and fit and hand position, but thin it out, make it lighter, increase your speed on your blocker saves, using that Brycore material to continue to give you great pop off of it when you're steering the pucks out of harm's way. So we thinned out the profile, made it more rigid, kept the good balance using the Brycore. We did reduce the cuff a little bit, so you do have a little bit wider range of motion than we did with the genetic. So we opened up that cuff. So really, it's again kind of like what our goals were with the pad. We wanted the same feel, we wanted the same performance advantages for the goalies who enjoyed that, but we wanted to make it lighter, faster, and a little bit more modern. And going back to the hand positioning, our hand position's a little bit lower on the genetic line as it was with our optic line. The Iconik has kept that same hand position as well. So it does have a little bit different balance and feel, and that's kind of what creates the preferences there. I prefer the hand positioning on our optic, but I preferred our genetic and everything else. With the Iconik blocker, I like it, but I still like the hand positioning of the optic a little bit better.
And is it bouncy?
Yes. So I mean, the thing is, like with the genetic had a little bit of a softer
It did.
a softer feel than the optic. I would say it's less bouncy. Obviously, it definitely is more rigid than the genetic. Even though we had the Brycore in the genetic blocker face, I think with this you're getting a little bit more of that more rigid pop that you do have with the optic than you had with the genetic. It's again kind of the best of both worlds.
Remember back 100 years ago when we wanted the puck to hit our equipment and just fall to the ground?
And just die. Right. Yeah.
Whatever happened? What happened to goalies somewhere along the way,
And you have those conversations with older goaltenders that have been using the same gear, and they don't want to evolve. They're, why can't I find, a pad that does this, or why can't I have a pad that designs that and or does that? And I tell them all the same thing where, again, for me, I'm a month away from 50, and I've evolved. I actually quit playing goal for a long time, and then I started working for Brian's. And when I started working for Brian's, my intention was to just, oh well, I got to try the stuff out so I can talk about it. I'm not going to start playing goal again, but I'll go to sticks and pucks, and now you're talking almost 10 years, but even then, the reduced impact on my knees
Yeah.
immediately with the way the pads are built and the knee blocks. It's like now I can play and my knees don't bother me. And it's still, almost 10 years later, I'm playing twice, 2 times and 3 times a week, knock on wood. And I tore my bicep last year, which just shooting a puck. So I am definitely getting softer with age, but my knees, which were what really bothered me kind of towards the end of playing, aren't even a concern anymore. And every once in a while I still do a backdoor pad 2 pad stack, and every once in a while, like every once in a while I will do a C cut kick save, and it's just because my brain is there,
Sure.
and the new gear doesn't keep me from doing that. It's not
That's
designed
right.
to do that,
Yeah.
but it's so much lighter. And then I've watched some of these older beer league guys, and it's like you gotta just do it. We as human beings fear change. We don't like change, and it's
Yeah.
like, but once you force yourself to do it and you get through those first dozen of skates, you're gonna be so glad that you didn't just go buy an old pair of
Oh yeah.
used.
Yeah. I mean, I
Or,
don't even think it takes that long. I even remember, I would go back to the era probably around 2006, 7 to like 2009, 10. You started seeing, pads without straps or just even pads with fewer straps. Everybody had fully integrated landing gear by then. Everybody had, flatter faces, more pronounced shapes. And I would have guys come in who were basically wearing a 90s pad or whatever. And so I can't wear these new ones. I tried a pair, and they're too stiff. I can't move in them. And I would say, look, here's a pad. Let's just try these on. And I would say, just put them on how you put them on. Okay. And he's cranking on, whatever strap was there, depending on the model. And then all of a sudden I'd say, okay, just drop down butterfly. And I go, okay, great. And then I'd tinker with just one leg. I would just move the straps around a little bit, just make some little adjustments here or there. Okay, stand up for me. Okay. I go, drop down a butterfly again. And the look on their faces, literally 1 or 2 holes difference in a leather strap, or just like an inch, 2 inches maybe tops on a nylon strap that I'm backing off a little, or just slight things, loosening the heel strap. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, I think I can play in these now. And it's like, yeah, and here you are. Here's your pads. See you later. Go have fun. Stop the puck. And obviously you see less of that now because there's been so much more evolution to that way, but you still do get guys. I can't wear these new pads. It's like, I don't know, man.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy that it's been as long as it has been too, and like I can still remember counting holes on straps, like for
Yeah,
my perfect adjustment and stuff. And it's been over a decade that I've had to do that on a pad,
yeah,
but I still remember it. I still remember sitting in the locker room going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, and so it's just crazy. Like, but it's natural to us, but like you said, and unfortunately for me, it a lot of times I'm having these conversations through email and you
yeah,
know
sure.
phone because I'm not in the store with them, and that's the thing. Like you're like once you just get in the pad, go in and spend time with people who know what they're talking about. And I'm like, you're not going to be having this conversation with me anymore. You're not going to be calling me back and being like, Brad, build me a pair of custom Heritage. Like, I mean, we finally like we still will do that, but we took it off the customizer. It's not there anymore, and we still do a few a year, but like now they just want to do the heritage look. Did you see Igor's pads?
I did. Yeah. Very, very nice in that third jersey, dark blue color. Yeah. That actually looked nice. And you know what? You know what's great is um blockers with holes in them
I know.
had white holes.
Hmm.
and because it was just the sheet of fiberglass and some styrofoam basically in behind.
Yep.
Stop making white blockers with holes on them that are colored in. That's that.
And I
Igor's is
agree,
perfect.
and I'm a huge fan of it when people do cross that bridge and want to go retro. I think that's another great thing about Brian's, right? You get so many of these, like we do tribute pads all the time where you got people doing the checkerboard pattern, right? Like, or the double
Yes.
checker as a tribute to Trevor Kidd, or like, so there are things that became iconic with our brand from years past, and they carry over decades with goalies today. Where how many things can you say about where people who younger people today reflect back to things in the past,
Yeah.
right? Like
Custom DX2 graphics.
custom DX2s are very popular. Carter Hart helped us with that last year, so, and then this year he went very simple and traditional all
Yeah.
season so
Yeah.
far, with the white and just the colored stars, and he made the transition to Iconic, and he loves them.
Hmm.
Fact, in the summer when he first put him on and was working with him, he was commenting that he felt more natural in a new set of gear than he had ever felt. So I think we knocked it out of the park with the design this year. We spend a lot of time on our design. And it's a small team of us. We get together once a month starting in about November. During that month, we communicate throughout the month. The other thing I love about Brian's, and this is one of the things that was kind of a home run with me when Graham brought me on board in 2014, was, it is a small company. It is a family. It is a goalie family. And I'm out in the trenches. I cover all the US, so I'm dealing with our US end users. And when people bring comments or criticisms or things that they love throughout the year, when I'm dealing with end users, when we sit down at the design table, there's nothing that doesn't come out on that table. So
Hmm.
if I'm at a goalie event in Chicago at a demo event and I see 50 goalies through the day and they all say, I really like your gear, but this, I wish it was like this, whatever. It's on the table. We discuss it. We vet it. We talk about our design, and is it something that makes sense with what we do? And so there's ownership in being a Brian's goalie. So if
Hmm.
you are Brian's and you tell me you like this, it's brought onto the table that our goalies like this. Let's continue to go in that route with our next design. So, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
cool. It's cool to be a part of that.
The
Um,
one
uh,
thing I would love to talk about is on the net zero side of things. So you have a line that's separate from, the main offerings that you see, whether it's on TV or that you see. So you've got a focused on the younger goalies, although there are lots of sizes. Um, but it is also, and we can maybe even talk about it this way, how important it is to design a specific line of gear that's meant for those entry level, like just kids getting into the position as they start to develop as goalies, and what it means to them to have functional equipment that fits them properly and works as well as some of the bigger stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, and I honestly think the companies have all kind of done a good job of evolving and doing that. And that the youth gear, and that you used to have some youth pads that were like stiff for like
Mm-hmm.
youth. And it was like, what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
kids can't, like, so they, the youth stuff, especially in the real small sizes and even in your entry level junior sizes, like you said, when they're learning the position, they can't have something really stiff and rigid that's going to make it hard for them to move. Because if it's hard for them to move, they're not going to have fun. If they're not having fun, they're just going to go back and play forward or defense.
Mm-hmm.
And we both on both sides of the border, we know that that's a problem, and that's a lot. We spend a lot of time at USA Hockey on grassroots now, and we need to grow the position. We need to not only provide more opportunities for kids to try, but once they try it, you want them to come back and try it again and again and again, and then hopefully stick with it, if they're passionate about continuing on to play it. And with the youth, with the net zero line, that's exactly what we're thinking. In that it's you can go right out and use it. It's very soft. It's easy to use. But on the same side, you're actually letting kids who are just starting to specialize in the position design their own gear. You're
Mm-hmm.
actually giving them the opportunity to do that, where obviously you're not going to do that to again until you're later in life and you start slowing down in growth, where you can start looking at customization and colors. These kids can customize their first
Mm-hmm.
set of gear.
Mm-hmm.
For want to take a look at the customizer real quick? I wanted
Let's
to
do that. Yeah, absolutely.
let's So one of the cool things we did, and we've been working on this for a couple years without getting too techy. We thought it would be a lot easier for our design team to do the three-dimensional customization charts. But it turned out to be a major product and our project, and we finally got it up and running with our customizer. And the cool thing about this too is it does give you a good three-dimensional view of the product. We
Yeah,
had some we had some good pictures in my slideshow, but with this customizer, you
it's
have the
very
ability.
realistic.
It's really very realistic. And then when you customize it and you go through the process of customization, you're able to do that really customized design. But instead of kind of imagining what that design's going to look like for you,
Hmm.
um, you're really able to take a look at the whole product to see what it's going to work out for you. So again, like, and using this one as an example, if I'm going to go with a blue on my inside color zone, it's great to be able to get a really good look at that sliding edge color.
Oh, right.
Uh, so if I want to go blue on there, how that's going to look overall
Yeah.
in the look with the rest of the design, just using that as an example. So you get a really good look there at the Iconic. You get a good look at the leg channel, um, a good look at the seamless sliding area with the sliding edge and the laced in knee block on the blocker. You get a nice view of how we opened up the cut of the sidewall a little bit.
Yep.
So on the glove, you can see that curve in the finger there.
Hmm.
So when you look at it in profile, you got the eyes there on the end of the T. And you can get a good look at the glove and the color zones as you continue to evolve the design when you're going through the process. Again, you've been working with us for a long time. You know
Oh,
that
yeah.
we go the nth degree, and we have a great customer service department. And I can tell you how much time I spend going through customers and trying to make sure that I'm not missing anything. And our customer service department will pick up the phone and call you and be like, Dana, are you sure they want to do this here?
Yeah. I do every few, I'll get the, hey, just wanted to double check.
Yep.
Is this supposed to be weave? It's like,
Yep. Karen
uh,
and
yeah,
Danielle in our customer service department are rock stars,
yeah. They're,
and
they're excellent.
so we want to go the nth degree. We always want our product to be 100% what our customers are expecting, because you do wait a while for custom, and you want it to be exactly what you expected when you get it after you wait for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
I'm
Uh,
thankful for our team on a daily basis. And, at Brian's, I mean, that's really our goal, right? Like we want lifelong goaltenders. We want them to keep the passion about the position. So not just about the gear that they're in, but we want them to continue to be passionate about playing goal. And again, I think that ownership thing that I mentioned earlier, I can't specify that enough. It's not something that is on the surface that goalies are, know is going on, but I try to remind people of that constantly and that we listen. We can do that because we're still in Kingsville, Ontario. So as the US sales manager, I'm based in the Detroit area. The factory's an hour and 15 minutes from them. So I spend a lot of time there with our team and passing along everything that I'm hearing in the trenches at the rinks.
Yeah, no, exactly. It really is. It's very unique among companies in the hockey industry, in the sporting goods industry, I would say. And just that most of the people there have been there a long time. Most of the people there are very much Brian's people. It is very much a family, and it goes a long way to just to see like what that company is capable of and what you guys are able to do, you know, because it really is sort of this tiny little dot that really turns out, some of the most amazing gear. You compete with these giant companies, but you've got, Vesna Trophy winners and Stanley Cup winners and top goalies in the league who are trusting your stuff.
Yeah, and we're not going to change. And again, like we my everybody in the field, we're all frenemies, right? Like it's
Of
I talk
course.
especially here in the Detroit area. I got Evan Kirk both within 40 minutes of me, and we spend a lot of time together at events, and we're all in it for the same thing, and we're all passionate about it, and every brand makes good stuff, but everybody's got their own thing too. And I think that our things, if you were to classify Brian's, is that we are a goalie specialty company. That's all we do. We don't do anything else.
Yeah.
And that does make us unique of all the manufacturers, and that everybody does a little bit more. If whether it be they do skates and they do masks and they do gloves or player pants, whatever.
Yeah.
That's not our thing. Our thing is goalies.
2 feet in the crease.
Yep, yep, 100%. We did come back with the composite stick, as you know, last
Yep.
year, or now 2 years ago, with the GSP4, and again, it's that middle price point composite stick. It's a good stick, but we're not competing with the $400 US, top of the line pro sticks that if you let go of them, they float up into the rafters. Like, it's
Sure.
amazing how light some of these sticks are now,
Yeah.
but it's a good stick, and for Brian's traditional goalies, there was a lot of excitement that we had a composite stick a composite stick on the
Hmm.
market, and so it's good that people know that we have a composite stick out there for dealers that brought it in.
Yeah, of course. And it is a good stick for, especially for where it's placed. I think spec wise and all of that, I think it fits right in very well with sort of everything else, if not even maybe even a little nicer maybe than some of the others that you'll get sort of in that. Yeah, not quite the top end of sticks, but
Yep.
sort of just a little bit below that.
Yep, I use it. It's great. I like the
Yeah.
feel of it.
Well, Brad,
I
keep coaching coaches, keep turning out great gear, keep doing everything you're doing, because I think everything is working out about the way it should. And again, another home run, I think, to say the least, on the new Iconic gear. Thanks for taking so much time with me today. Amazing to see. I think we're going to do another one of these in a little while, month or two, another sneak preview of something that's going to come out. We'll leave that as a bit of a teaser. But again, thanks very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Anytime you want me on, I'll be happy to make the time.
Sounds good.